What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics. Up next, we've got a brief update on the CGC scam situation. We haven't had much information for a while. I feel like this is going to be pretty disappointing for everybody that wants some type of closure. Let's check out that update. All right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So I think everybody is probably aware at this point that there were a couple different CGC scam situations that had been going on. Really kind of broke back with 99 Newsstand in December. And then there was another one that came out soon after that when CGC did kind of like a legal filing. And so the two different scams were the one where the person was swapping books into CGC or swapping books around in CGC cases. So putting either lower grade books into higher grade cases or with higher grade labels, or the other one was actually at CGC where one of the employees was stealing books, actually doing some, it sounded like doing some swapping of books as well, printing their own labels, all kinds of things like that. So I think everybody's pretty much aware of those situations. And so we've just been largely waiting for updates because CGC did file cases against both of these sets of individuals. And so we just got another update recently. And if you're not familiar with Paul Lesko here, Paul Lesko is a lawyer and he likes to often comment on collectibles types cases. He's often commenting on things like related to cards, but he has also been commenting on these CGC cases. And so he had an update here on March 13th, 1:24 p.m. on X or Twitter, where he said for CGC versus Terrazas, and this is the case with the employees. So the employees at CGC that were stealing books and doing some swapping and label printing, that kind of thing. You may wonder what happened at the preliminary injunction hearing. Well, nothing, because it got bumped and won't happen if it does happen until April. And why do I say if it does happen? Because according to the filing, this case may settle before then. And if this sounds familiar, this is exactly the same thing we heard with the other case, that it was also sounded like it might go to settlement. So here are the details here. It comes now, defendants Brandon Terrazas and Ayana Terrazas, by and through undersigned counsel and pursuant to Fed R Civ, I'm going to read that, files this unopposed motion for extension of time in the amount of 30 days. In support of its motion, defendants state as follows. The parties are in active settlement negotiations pertaining to the injunctive and other relief requested preliminary and permanently, and they believe another extension of 30 days will allow the parties to get closer to a resolution of the preliminary injunction motion, if not this case in full. So basically, it sounds like they're probably going to settle outside of court, which, I mean, for all of us that want some type of closure to this, to get something where we actually get more details about everything that happened, the number of books that are actually involved, all this kind of thing. I just looks like we're not getting that. I mean, it really seems like we are not going to get that type of closure, that both of these cases are likely going to be settled outside of court. And so here's that other post that was made back on March 6th. And this is the case of CGC versus Zanello. And then this is the one where it was actually the person that, this is the one that everybody really kind of found out about, and it blew up with the swapping of the Mark Jewelers books. But we've got in the CGC versus Zanello matter marked down March 18th as the next date of interest. Then we'll learn either that the case is settled or we'll get the defendant's response to the complaint. Or I guess there's a third option where the defendants will ask for more time. And so in this one, it sounded very, very similar. The firm that represents Ulysses Zanello in the above referenced action, we write to respectively request a 2-week extension of the deadline for defendants Ulysses Zanello and Bree Riva, together defendants, to respond to the complaint filed by plaintiffs certified guaranteed company in order to provide the parties additional time to discuss potential settlement of this action. Defendant's current deadline to respond to the complaint is March 4th, and this extension and with this extension, defendant's deadline would be extended to March 18th. So that is coming up in a few days. So maybe we'll get another update at that point, whether we know if there's been a settlement or not. There have been no previous extensions of this deadline. Ms. Riva's counsel joins this extension request, and plaintiff's counsel has consented to this extension request. So, I mean, it kind of looks like both of these are probably going to end outside of court. We're not going to get any real additional information with it. And, that's probably what CGC wants, having this dragged out publicly, finding out even more problems that are out there, that kind of thing is probably not what they want to have happen in a very public setting. And so, I mean, I guess it's not a big surprise, but it's also pretty disappointing from our perspective, or at least my perspective. And I think a lot of other collectors and people in this community's perspective, because like some type of closure. But what we will probably see, my guess, is there was this letter that was put out about a month ago now by the CEO of the Certified Collectibles Group. We'll probably see something similar, where they're going to put out some type of notice, like this has all been resolved, whatever boilerplate response it's going to be. And, we're going to all be disappointed and unhappy with that resolution, but it is what it is. And we're probably not going to really get any more information. If you are wondering about any updates that have been going on with the number of books, so if you remember back in January, CGC put out this article where they gave that list of 350 books. So these are the 350 books that were supposedly tampered with or potentially tampered with. And from what we learned, basically, these are ones that were reholdered in, let's see, this case here, the Zanello case. These are the ones that were reholdered. And so potentially they could have been fraudulent or had the wrong type of book inside, the wrong grade. And so if you actually go down through here and check the number of books, it's actually around 70 now have this little slash through them that they have marked off the list, but there are still a lot left. I mean, that's 280 left that are kind of like in an unknown state right now. Either people have them and they don't want to send them in, or people are waiting to send them in to see what type of action CGC is going to take. Because at least from what I've heard and what I've seen from other people out there, I have not gotten any type of confirmation on someone who has gotten paid out yet, or how that payment worked, if they got a fraudulent book, if they replaced the book for them, if they gave them money to go buy the book. I know that becomes a complex situation when you're talking about some of these more rare books that are in this list. Now, with the really common books, like ASM 300 and a 9.8, where maybe CGC can just replace it, that's probably what they'll do. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they do. But when you've got something like a 9.8 Mark Jewelers, that's a very different situation. Those are much harder to come by, and maybe they can't replace it. And then it's the question of how much money do they give out, all those types of situations. Now you will see up on the top here, this Amazing Fantasy 15 still not crossed off. That was one of the ones that I remember when this all came out, that this was one of the big ones that just jumped out, because it's a 6.5 signature series, Amazing Fantasy 15. I mean, that's like $100,000+ book. I mean, with a Stanley signature, maybe 125,000, maybe even a little bit more. So this is a big boy book. And so I was hoping to see, maybe some update on this one. Maybe the person who owns it comes out and gives some information, or we see it crossed off the list. But nothing on that yet. So we just have to keep waiting. And I think we're all just going to ultimately probably be fairly disappointed with the final outcome, and we won't really know what the ultimate result of this was, because probably people aren't going to be allowed to talk about things, all that kind of thing. So I don't know, let me know what you think. I mean, for me, I would have liked to have seen a little more official closure on this, but it sounds like both of these are probably going to close outside of court. But let me know what you think. I'd like to hear about it in the comments. If you'd like to see more videos like this, I got more videos over here. I've got the subscription button right here, and I will see you in the next video.